former head coach. Joins us once again on the phone. It's Rick Neuheisel. How are you, sir?
Andrew, how are you on this fine Friday?
I'm
Happy
doing
Veterans
well.
Day.
Thank you, sir. It's great to have you on today. Great to be here as well on Veterans Day. It's kind of like a path to the draft reunion, as we had Charles on before. Curious what you think of the new rankings, and specifically Washington sitting there at number 4.
Well, I think the committee said, you know what, we might as well just put these 4 undefeated teams up there at the top. They may make our job easy and run the table and get there. Of course, lots of football still to be played, but having had an undefeated team outside of the top 4 the week before, and a team with 1 loss in the top 4, that being Texas A&M, and having Texas A&M lay the proverbial egg, I think they saw the error of their ways and changed course, even though there could be an argument made for the same logic that A&M was in that top 4 in week 1. The same logic could have been made for Ohio State, given their strength of schedule, given their very impressive wins on the road at both Wisconsin and Oklahoma, and obviously the beatdown of Nebraska. So I see why some Buckeye fans would be concerned, but it's much ado about nothing given the fact that they still have that Michigan game looming.
And while those Buckeye fans will certainly be rooting for USC tomorrow, Rick, do you think the Trojans have a shot?
The Trojans have a shot, Andrew. They have played much better football since putting Sam Darnold at the quarterback position. He's been brilliant. 20 touchdown passes against just 4 interceptions, and he's kind of what I like to call a fireman. He has a way of getting the baby out of the burning house. That being, when the pocket is crumbling down around him, he finds an escape hatch and gets the ball out and keeps the Trojans going forward rather than going back in the field position department. So if he can do that against a pass rush that's kind of fallen on hard times for Washington, they've only sacked the quarterback 3 times in the last 3 games since losing Joe Mathis. They can stay in this game, but ultimately I think what it's really going to come down to is, can USC run the football? They've been terrific against the teams like Arizona State, Arizona, Oregon, and Cal, which all are 114th or lower in FBS defensive rankings. If they can run the ball against Washington like they did against those 4, then they're going to be right there.
Talking to Rick Neuheisel of CBS here, talking college football. Rick, we were, before the show, sitting backstage trying to look at the schedule for this week and trying to find the upset, just assuming, as odds have it, that there will be one. Do you see a major upset on the board this week, potentially? You
know, the one that strikes me as the potential, and you have to go back to like where we were in the preseason thinking about a team, would be Michigan at Iowa.
Everyone's saying that one.
Iowa was thought to be the favorite in the West. They thought to be a schedule, and since they lost to North Dakota State, really haven't been themselves. They got beaten badly last week at Penn State. They return home to Iowa City this week. I'm just saying, if Iowa of old shows up and C.J. Beathard has a remarkable day and they can find a way with Akram Wadley and others to run the football, then they could they might catch Michigan looking ahead. But that would be the one that comes to mind. I don't consider an SC win over Washington a major upset.
Really?
I think that I really don't.
Why?
I think SC's playing really well.
Okay.
I think that they have the wherewithal and they have the makeup with a mentality to get back into the national picture. I know their alums are dying to get back in the national picture, having been on a national stage once this year and getting throttled by Alabama 52-6. If they lay another egg like that, I think Clay Helton goes back to the hot seat he found himself in September.
Sure.
But I don't see that as the major upset. I think Iowa finding some magic against the Michigan team in Iowa City sounds like something that seems reasonable.
Talking to Rick Neuheisel, and for the record, look, SC is number 20 right now at 6-3 with Sam Darnold. They have picked themselves back up, and we are not talking about Clay Helton's job security anymore. But to your point, if that's a blowout, then maybe we will be when we're sitting here on Monday. This may sound like a stupid question, Coach, but only stupid people ask stupid questions. Would Iowa beating Michigan in your eyes and in the Big Ten's eyes be bad for the conference?
Well, I think the conference is in really solid footing right now. It's remarkable to me to think that it wasn't so long ago when Virginia Tech went in and beat Urban Meyer's Buckeyes in like week 2 or 3 just a couple of years ago in the first year of the college football playoff, how down we thought the Big Ten was. It was the poor little conference that couldn't. They were outside looking in that first college football polls. It was Baylor, was it TCU that was going to get that 4th spot. And then by a 59-0 beating of Wisconsin, Urban's Buckeyes end up in the first Final Four, and then beat Alabama in a terrific game where everybody now knew the name Ezekiel Elliott, and then obviously won the national championship against Oregon in that first ever college football playoff final. That was a phenomenal deal. And then Jim Harbaugh comes to the conference, and it has been a unbelievable rise to prominence for that league. Penn State now catching fire. They're a top 10 team as we speak. Wisconsin having a banner year. I think when I saw Wisconsin's schedule, there were 6 teams, and I'm including LSU, even though they didn't win a 10th game. They would have had gotten to play McNeese State a year ago. But there were 6 teams on that schedule that had won 10 or more games the year before. And how could Wisconsin do that? They were replacing Joel Stave. This was going to be too difficult. And yet there they are, sitting there in the 7th position, and I think still holding their destiny in their hands should they win out and beat either Ohio State or Michigan in the championship game. So I think the league has been outstanding. Would it be good for them at this point? No. I think they want Michigan and Ohio State to get to that game with no further blemishes on their record and see who's the stronger in that day in Columbus.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one as well. Rick Neuheisel, got to ask you one last thing. Have about a minute remaining here, which probably is not enough time for this topic. However, as a leader of young men in all your stops, whether it's UCLA or Colorado or Washington and all the locker rooms you've been in your life, as a head coach for an election, especially an election as big as this one we had on Tuesday, do you think you're responsible to stand up there and help your young men, your student athletes through the process, tell them to vote, tell them that they need to be part of the political process? And do you believe Nick Saban when he says he didn't know there was an election on Tuesday?
The answer is yes. That's part of our role as head coaches, especially at ages 18 to 22, is to keep track of what's important in life. Winning and losing certainly is hugely important to the endeavor that we encounter as team and teammates, but to understand, hey, you've got to have a full experience here. You've got to become part of a college campus. You've got to become part of an American society, and your civic duty is to vote. You have no right to complain if you're not willing to go out and exercise your inalienable right to vote. And I think that that is a absolute course of action for all head coaches. And I know Nick gets lost in the season and gets myopic at times, but I don't believe that he didn't know it was an election. As much as I believe everything Nick Saban says, I don't buy that for a second.
Yeah, I don't buy it either. I think, as Charles Davis said earlier, that is his way of saying it's on to Cincinnati, or as Belichick said this week, Seattle.
By the way,
Seattle.
Andrew, Bill Belichick is his sensei, okay?
Right.
If Bill Belichick says jump, Nick Saban says how high. That is a fact. So if Belichick would have said it, then you can guarantee it's coming out of Nick's mouth.
Great to talk to you, sir. It's been too long. Let's do it again soon, will you?
I look forward to it, Andrew. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.
Thank you. You as well, sir. That is Rick Neuheisel from CBS.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.